Coming up, as cases of the coronavirus continue to increase across the country, there is new hope for a vaccine.
When they do come out with the vaccine, how long would it take for everybody to get it, and in which order would people get it?
Dr. John will be here to answer your questions. Plus, this inspiring 11-year-old from Virginia is helping moms in need.
I just seen a lot of people struggling, and I wanted to help them, make them feel like others in the world. I don't like to just leave people out. I want to treat them the way that I want to be treated.
And meet Grandpa Ron, proving you are never too old to go to school.
This is NBC Nightly News, Kids Edition.
Welcome back to Nightly News Kids Edition. It's great to be with you. We've got great stuff coming up in this show, including a remarkable boy from Virginia who is lending a helping hand to his community. Plus, Kamala Harris, our next Vice President of the United States, is inspiring a new generation of young women. We'll hear from some young girls about that. But our top story continues to be the coronavirus. Unfortunately, cases are now increasing in most states, and hospitals are treating more and more sick people. But we did get some really encouraging news this week. One drug company, Pfizer, announced that based on testing with volunteers, they think their experimental vaccine appears to be over 90% effective. That means they believe it will work with a big majority of people. Now, there's still a lot of work to be done, but it sounds hopeful, all right? So with that, let's get straight to your questions. Joining us now is a familiar face, Dr. John Torres. And Dr. John, our first question comes from Ohio.
I'm Cynthia, and I live in Cincinnati, Ohio. And my question is, when they do come out with the vaccine, how long would it take for everybody to get it, and in which order would people get it? Bye.
Hi, what do you think, Dr. John?
You know, this is a great question because we think we're going to get the vaccine and start giving it to people around January timeframe, maybe a little later than that. But we can't vaccinate everybody in this country, all 330 million people, all on the same day. So we're going to do it in phases. The first phase, those are going to be hospital workers that are really taking care of sick COVID patients because we want to make sure they're safe. We're talking doctors, nurses, medical technicians, even ambulance drivers, paramedics, and EMTs. Then we're going to give it to people who are vulnerable and can get very sick if they get COVID-19, especially the elderly and those with other medical conditions. And then people that are in nursing homes, they're going to get it as well. The next phase will be teachers because they're taking care of children. We want to make sure they're safe. Critical care workers, those are the people that are taking care of our garbage, keeping our electricity going, keeping the heat on. We want to make sure they're safe as well. And then the third phase will be adults and children because even though they can get coronavirus, they don't get as sick from it normally. But we want to make sure that we get it to the people who need it most first and then eventually get it to everybody. My guess is by summertime, we'll have most people vaccinated.
Well, what a big shout out we should certainly give to all those scientists who have been working so hard to come up with the vaccine. Dr. John, thanks. Our next question comes all the way from Indonesia.
Hi, Lester. How are you doing? My name is Joshua.
Jane, Julia, and Joe. We are Californians living in Jakarta, Indonesia. And we have a question for you and Dr. Torres.
Our question is it safe to be near and talk to someone who recently recovered from COVID-19? NBC Nightly News, Kids Edition, bagus banget.
You guys are great and hate everybody in Jakarta who's with us. Dr. John, what about the question?
You know, this is actually a question that a lot of people have right now because if you're sick and you recover from coronavirus, from COVID-19, then you do have a little bit of protection, but we don't know how long that protection lasts, and we don't know how sick you had to be in order to get good protection. So it could be that you could still be spreading it to other people. We simply don't know yet. So even if somebody recovered from COVID-19, you want to pretend like they didn't and stay just as safe. And that means using your mask when you're around them, social distancing, a lot of hand sanitizing or washing your hands, the things you do around anybody else. Treat them exactly the same way you would treat a stranger.
All right, our last question comes from Iowa.
Hi, my name is Abby and I live in Orange City, Iowa. My question for you is if germs are everywhere, where can they not go? I love Kids Edition. Bye.
We love that you're watching. Dr. John, what's your answer for her?
Yeah. Abby actually has a great question, and the actual fact is that germs can go everywhere. They're from the bottom of the ocean all the way up into space, but when we're talking about germs, we're talking about different kinds. Viruses, the really small ones that are like coronavirus, and some bigger ones like bacteria. Some of the bacteria actually help keep us healthy, and so those are important. But some of these other bacteria and the viruses, they can get us sick. Those are the ones we want to avoid. As far as coronavirus, it doesn't live very well outside our bodies, and so when we start thinking about other surfaces, realize it can last a few hours or days on those surfaces, so you still want to be careful. For example, this glass. If somebody drank out of this glass before me and they touched it or they drank out of it, then I could get sick by touching the glass. So I want to be very careful and make sure I have a clean glass. But as far as the water inside, coronavirus doesn't live very well in water, so don't worry too much about drinking that water. It should still keep you healthy.
All right, Dr. John Torres, thanks as always. And also, I just wanted to take a moment to thank you for your service. It was Veterans Day this week, and I know you're a vet, so I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge you and your service to our country, U.S. Air Force, correct?
That's correct, Lester. Thank you, and it's my honor to serve the country.
Let's turn now to the presidential election. President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris are preparing to take office in January. Did you know that Kamala Harris is now America's first female, first black, and first South Asian Vice President-elect? And some young girls now see themselves in her.
But I felt like seeing her, I was like, oh, well, if she can do it, then I can do it.
I felt really happy because we had a powerful woman as our vice president, and she really showed that women can be just as powerful as men.
Speaking of inspiration, we turn now to our Inspiring Kids series and update you on a story we brought to you over the summer. Running a lemonade stand in the midst of a pandemic hasn't been easy for kids across the country, but one remarkable 11-year-old from Virginia has found a way to make a difference. Here's our friend Natalie Morales.
In Virginia, 11-year-old Cartier Carey has been juggling schoolwork and extracurricular activities. His summer lemonade stand, which raised money to buy diapers for single moms, had to close because of COVID-19.
A lot, because there was a lot of single moms coming by saying they needed diapers because they have babies, like newborn babies, and they can't afford diapers. So I just came up with it and said, you know what, I'm not gonna sell the diapers, I'm gonna give them away for free.
But that hasn't stopped him from finding new ways to get help to those who need it most.
This truck full of diapers by August 6th.
Cartier, you kept busy all summer, and now you continue with your efforts for Kids for Change. Tell me about the latest. What have you been able to do to help people in your community, particularly single moms?
Since we're in virtual school now, we're passing out diapers on the weekends, and we're trying to do them on weekdays.
So far, Cartier and his small team of volunteers have passed out some 22,000 diapers to moms in need.
That's a crazy amount of diapers, and that's a lot of babies that need help. And you've been able to fulfill that need. Tell me how you started all of this, and what was the goal when you first started?
As I was younger, I just seen a lot of people struggling, and I wanted to help them, make them be like others in the world.
And now here it's because of people like you.
I don't like to just leave people out. I want to treat them the way that I want to be treated.
He's also set up a GoFundMe page to help families. So far, raising
over 30,000.
Wow. Have you ever seen that kind of money in your life before?
No ma'am.
Cartier says he doesn't plan to stop anytime soon.
We just want to help people, and the more people you help, the better the community gets. So we just want to keep continuing to help people.
All right, thanks, Natalie and Cartier. Keep up the great work. Finally, in honor of Veterans Day this week, we want to introduce you to a retired Marine who has served his country, and for the last decade, he's served kids in his community with words of encouragement and maybe even a sweet treat or two. Here's our pal, Kevin Tibbles.
Good morning. You're never too old to go to school. Just ask Grandpa Ron, who will always be a kid at heart.
I come in every morning with an attitude that it's going to be a good day, and that I can give a little warmth to the little ones while they give some back to me.
Meet Ron Jacobson, who pretty much every day can be found at the Cleellum Roslyn Elementary School about 80 miles east of Seattle.
They can make you feel 100 or they can make you feel 17. It just depends on what they're doing.
For the last decade, Grandpa Ron has been there to help answer kids' questions, offer encouragement, and maybe a hug or two. And the kids love him for it.
I get 50 hugs before 9 o'clock every morning.
He comes to school and he hands out Oreos to all the kids and says share.
But because of the coronavirus, things have changed, and it hasn't been easy. So over the summer, kids started to drop by his home to make sure Grandpa Ron was okay.
They published my mailing address and physical address, so kids would just drop by the house and say hi, or volunteer to take the dogs out for a walk. And of course, they always got an Oreo when they came over to the house anyway.
And we all know the way to a kid's heart is with a cookie.
He pulled something out of the box and he handed it to me, and he told me that he wanted me to keep it.
He reminds me a lot of my grandpa, and my grandpa passed along in 2017. So just to have the feeling that he's still around.
Soon, Ron's mailbox filled up too, with letters from students like this one.
Dear Grandpa Ron, you are truly an amazing person. You always have a smile on your face. You're respectful. You always make my day a little better. And most importantly, everyone else's too.
Grandpa Ron spent 24 years in the Marine Corps, so he's not going to take any guff. But he'll tell you himself, he's a big softy for kids.
What are these kids teaching you?
That it's okay to be fun and have fun. Maybe relive some of the days of my youth. I can look at some of these kids out on the playground and say, I remember when I used to do that.
Grandpa Ron has even been awarded for his service to the young people in his town. But the biggest thank you of all will always be a hug. Kevin Tibbles, NBC News.
All right, Ron, thanks so much for your service. Parents, just a reminder, if your child has a question, email a video to us at nightlynewskids@nbcuni.com, and we'll try to answer them in an upcoming show. And just a programming reminder, a special episode of Nightly News Kids Edition will air on NBC this Saturday. Check your local listing for the time in your area. Thanks for watching, everyone, and remember, always take care of yourself and each other.